All right, Tony, can you hear me there on Zoom now?
Yeah, I gotcha.
All right, thank you. All right, today's Thursday, April 10th. It is 10:01 a.m. I will call to order the Waupaca County Traffic Safety Commission meeting. Roll call. County, we have Rick Ertl, Dave Morak. Open meeting statement. This meeting and all other meetings in this commission are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statutes, so the citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting?
Mark moves to approve.
Get a second?
Mark, I'll second.
Any discussion? Can I get a vote to approve signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I also need a motion to approve the current agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Can I get a second to that motion?
Second. Bertle, second.
Any discussion? Can I get a vote to approve signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Any public input? Seeing no public input, we will move forward and start with the reports. All right, for the first quarter for Waupaca County, you guys can see the numbers shared on the screen here. The first quarter property damage crashes 189, personal injury crashes 37, 54 total people injured, 7 serious injuries, 19 minor injuries, 10 possible, and the unfortunate of 1 fatal. And as long as we're on that number, I'll turn over to Chief Freitag, the Clintonville Police Department, to briefly talk about the fatal from Clintonville.
It occurred on March 21st, right around noon. A gentleman, 87-year-old, on a UTV on Bennett Street, trying to cross over 45. Didn't stop at the stop sign. Report went right through it. We did get video from Quick Trip. Not the best because it was in top right corner. You can see it wasn't a stop go, just went right through it and hit a truck that was traveling on 45 towards Marion. He was the only one in the UTV. That's pretty much all I have. It was unfortunate. No other circumstances. It was just failure to yield.
Okay.
Chief, on that, on community maps, it shows it's not intersection related.
Not.
So if you look, I looked back the 5-year history, I did all intersection related crashes there and the fatal doesn't come up.
Really?
So I clicked that off and did non,
Okay.
and it comes up then. So I don't know if the accident report listed as non-intersection.
It is listed as not intersection.
You know, some of the legs hung up on the mom's. Leg is on, you know.
Do you have the map up right now?
Steve has concluded.
Yes.
Everyone, thanks for working so hard.
I'm thinking,
Just quickly, because I had a couple people talk about that intersection.
Mm-hmm.
In my memory, going off my memory, I don't think we've had a whole lot of crashes at that intersection.
So 5-year history at that intersection, I have 9 total crashes.
Sure.
And then add the 1 fatal, because that's not on the
Sure.
intersection. But for 5 years, 9 total crash, 10 with the fatal, 1 injury, and then the 1 fatality. So in 5 years at a pretty busy intersection, I don't think that's that big of a number.
What's the
Number one.
intersection? Because I had to get up and get the agenda off the printer. What was the intersection?
Bennett Street and Highway 45 or West Madison Street.
Okay.
Is it called South Bennett or anything?
No, just Bennett.
Tony, did you have anything else to add for that then, or?
No, it doesn't sound familiar to me, so I'm not seeing it as a crash spot because I go through the top 40 all the time. So
Chief Retake, anything else from that for you?
No, I got nothing.
Ted, anything else on that one from you?
I just ran without, 11 total crashes in that area in the 5 years.
Kathy, did you have something to say for this one also?
It's the only one that I have even to report on. Toxicology is pending, but I don't believe that's a factor in this at all.
Okay.
He was old. They had taken his driver's license away. He had a little bit of dementia issues. And they basically, the family didn't want him driving around, but that was his only way of getting around. I knew him all my life and he just didn't like sitting still in the house. So unfortunately, it got the best of him one day.
Moving on from that fatal, we did have several notable crashes in Wapaka County in the first quarter. Crashes of note include the vehicle versus buggy recently up in the town of DuPont, severe injury to the buggy occupant. That is obviously still under investigation, as well as a single vehicle crash, town of Lynn, Kufel Road, Zabel Road, severe injury to driver and an occupant. That is also still under investigation. Any questions on that report? Okay, moving on, we will turn it over to Casey Beiersdorf.
All right, good morning, everyone. I just give an update a little bit on what we're up to at the highway department. Our construction project season has taken off. South of Fremont on County Highway H, Vinton Construction has been there for about 3 weeks. They should make it to Highway 10 with reconstructing the subgrade by the end of this week, by Friday afternoon. And then they're gonna start on H going north of 10 all the way up to 96. In the same time, they'll have contractor Smith Restorations come behind them and start redoing all of the ditches and landscaping south of 10. Paving date, maybe looking at that first or second week in May already, depending if the asphalt plants are open. So they're really plugging along. That road is open to traffic for people that live on it, but it's closed to everyone else that just wants to sneak through. County Highway O at Little Creek Road. I would say end of February, early March, when we hit that 70-degree day, that time, I'm like, let's just make the decision to start doing this box culvert. And then it snowed and rained and snowed and rained and the water elevations went up, but we were fortunate to get most of all the sheet piling driven in. And before the water started coming up, now the water is receding and I could imagine our crews will be back out there on that box culvert sometime next week after there's like 15 feet more sheet piling that has to get driven. So we gotta wait for the water to go down for that. And after that, our crews will actually take the big crane, we'll set the monster structure that's sitting there on the new speed footings, and then we'll backfill it and hopefully get that whole section paved from N all the way to 22 to meet our sunset date of June 20, the end of June. On County Highway 00 between E and 110, our crews are popping stumps and ditching, replacing cross culvert pipes on that section currently. And County Highway N is probably about a month away before we start construction on N between Highway T and Brash Road. Spring weight limits, we're gonna pull them next week, Monday at 12:01 a.m. So this is the last, they'll be on through this weekend. Enforcement, I believe, is gonna end Friday. So thank you, Sheriff's Department, for that. We're a little leery on unharnessing all of our snowplow equipment yet, just because it's kind of slow. It's kind of, I guess, still kind of cold, but we do have a lot of trucks unharnessed for hauling brush and stumps and some material. And budget-wise, for winter maintenance, we budget $1 million to maintain our county roads, and we are at that budget pretty much. So I do not have a winter maintenance budget for this fall. So I'm gonna have to cut from projects. So I don't know what to cut from right now until I talk it over with my staff. That's it.
Any questions for Casey?
I assume just financial. The townships reimburse you, right, for snow plowing?
Yeah, we invoice them every month. Yeah,
Is that way down this year?
we up.
Boy.
We had a lot more snow than we had last year at this time. Last year, January, February, and March, really didn't snow a whole lot until we got the big March one last year. For this year, all the little 1 inch, 2 inches and icy stuff, we went up quite a bit. Our equipment revenue really went up as well.
Very good.
Yeah, it started out
Yeah. So
bad, but
Yeah, we're doing all right.
so hope for lots of snowstorms between now and then.
Snow is
but
good.
it also costs money.
Yeah. It costs.
They needed one of them
Yeah.
$400,000 trucks to push an inch
Snow
snow
between
away.
8 AM and 4 PM. Is that right?
Any other questions for Casey? All right, moving forward, Becky?
Nothing new in driver's ed to my knowledge, unless anyone's got anything.
Any questions for Becky? Moving on, Kathy?
I have nothing to add.
Any questions for Kathy? Moving on, Kate not present. Tony, you're up.
All right, I took mute off. I'll attempt to share my screen. All right.
Tony, if you can do yours.
Yep, it is.
All right, I'm sharing it. Yeah, Todd, I got it. If I can share it
Okay.
from here, that's fine. I just have to get my mouse over to the right monitor. That did not work. All right. I'll try this. All right. So I'm going to talk about, can you see the presentation okay?
We can, Tony.
Okay. Status of area construction projects. I know I went through these before, but we have a couple ongoing ones. Total work in the county is slightly under 7 million, about 6.5. I will also do my safety engineers report, talk a little more about Highway 10 wrong way driving mitigation efforts. And then also we had those 2 crash spots. We actually had 3, one of them dropped out. But we will give you some updates on those as well. Did the slide change? Are you seeing that?
It did not. You're still on your home screen.
All
You're
right,
still at
I'm
your home
gonna,
screen.
yeah, I'm gonna have to escape out of this. All right, so.
There it goes.
No, it's changed. We're at the construction
right.
project slide.
Okay, I guess I'll do it over there. Technology is a wonderful thing. All right, so I'm on there. First project's on Highway 54. That's about 5 miles of pavement resurfacing west of Wapaka, heading out by the old Chaina Lake School there, heading out towards Portage County. 2-inch mill and fill project, which you've all seen many of over the years. We are, however, adding a left turn lane at the County Highway Q, like Queen intersection. Have a picture of that in that slide there. That will be a mainline left turn lane to deal with some rear end collision issues with left turning vehicles off of 54 onto Highway Q. Schedule's on there May through September, so it's a full season construction job. You can expect single lane closures as you've seen on our other paving projects where we grind that off and repave that, add new paint, add new shoulders. We really don't do a lot with signing. That's done under a state contract basis now, but you will have new paint lines out there, obviously. And that will be single lane closures with flagging operations, except on Highway Q as you approach there during that construction of that left turn lane on 54. Those legs of the intersection will be closed for up to 5 days. Next project's on Highway 110. I know 110 is brought up regularly, not necessarily this section, but the sections going north. But we are slowly working on 110, hopefully working our way north here. This project goes from County Highway AA in Waiawega, north towards Royalton, to Highway 22. It's about 4 miles of pavement resurfacing in the town of Royalton. culvert replacement, and there is some poor soil, so we call that excavation below the subgrade to remove those poor soils and then put in a more structurally sound compacted soil there to hold up that pavement. That will actually have a detour for about 10 days. That detour is via Highway 22 and Highway 10. When they've got that closed to do the culvert work and that excavation work as well. Other than that, it'll be the standard mill and repave. They are going to have to do some cross slope correction. They're only milling about 1 inch in the center, but they're milling it a little deeper out towards the shoulders to give us that 2% crown. And then you will have the new shoulder gravel and pavement markings. We have 2 local road improvement projects. The first one is on County Highway H. I believe this is south of the village of Fremont there along the Wolf River. You see that from Highway 10 when you head out towards Winnebago County. A little over 1 mile of roadway reconstruction there. We'll provide 2 new 12-foot driving lanes, 1 north, 1 south, and then 3-foot shoulders. That work will be a little quicker, just May through mid-August. So hopefully before school starts, that road will be back open. It will be closed during construction, obviously, with removing the pavement and the gravel and then rebuilding all of that. Local access will be maintained to the residences there as well along the river. The next local road improvement project is on County Highway W from Highway 96 to Cutoff Road, a little over 4 miles. This is again a little more beefy project than our typical mill and fills that you see at DOT. This is a road improvement project that'll remove and replace that failing pavement structure out there. We call that pulverizing and relaying that. They pull the material up, compact that, crush that, relay it, and then pave a new 4.25 inch asphalt surface on there, again, to give you that stronger roadway surface to last for the next 20, 25 years. Schedule on this one, middle of June. I think we have a June 16th start date from my construction PM. She said you just got that from our contractor. And that'll go through mid-August again, hopefully wrapping up and being opened up again before the start of school for 2025. Traffic impacts, again, full roadway closure, local traffic access, and there is a detour for this one via Highway 96, 45 to Highway D. So those are construction projects. I guess I'll put a question out to you, Sheriff. How have the intersections been with wrong way driving events, in your opinion, since we put those new signs out there?
Well, Andy, I guess I'm gonna refer it to you. What is?
So I can speak on this also. So we actually have seen a decrease in numbers, Tony.
Okay.
Obviously, it's early in the process to see from the few ones that have been changed so far, and I believe the rest of them should be getting changed here, Casey, very shortly. I don't know when that project's gonna be finalized, or you have a date on that by chance yet?
I have to ask our sign foreman.
Okay. But it's, obviously the numbers are down if you run the reports. I think it's a little early to come to a conclusion on that, but hopefully it's helping.
All right. Well, that's what I wanted to hear because, as I shared at the last meeting, since that the family came to the meeting and there's been that public outcry, we've really kind of revisited that. And with our new Secretary of Transportation, safety's really been kind of ramped up. So this fits into that. We did implement those changes. That's basically, again, doubling up the wrong way and do not enter signs, putting larger signs, higher visibility backgrounds, adding reflective strips on those posts, and then also angling that median sign towards that side road so that if a driver is going to turn, their lights will sweep that sign so they know they shouldn't go that way. So it's good to hear there's some positivity as far as getting those numbers reduced at the events. We are, as a DOT region in North Central, doing the entire Highway 10 corridor, is my understanding. They are using some of our money that we have set aside for county forces work. So it will be done all the way from Marshfield and Wood County out through Winnebago County line and Wood Portage and Wapaka counties. So I'm glad to hear that's having some positive impact. As far as the state, go ahead,
Tony, if you don't mind, keep in mind that once the summer hits, we're going to get a lot more visitors to Wapaka County, and
absolutely.
And of course, what do they do when they visit Wapaka County? They like to enjoy, the area as much as they can. So there's a good chance for that's gonna be an uptick through the summer
Yep.
months, but hopefully it's not, but it's a wait kind of and see, because summertime comes and that's where we get a majority of them as well.
Right, and you guys at the county had a campaign, I know, as far as stay right at night and things like that. I would encourage you to continue to push that out because from a state level, that's one of the things they're asking us on the task force, what else can be done? And I really kind of emphasize we need to have public awareness increased of the issue. They're catastrophic when they happen. They don't happen very often, thank goodness, but when they do happen, they're in the state journal. So we need to get people educated that this is a possibility when they're out driving on divided highways. So keep going with that. Getting back into my presentation as far as the crash spots, we shared 3 of them at the last meeting. I'll give you an update as to where we are as for what we do. So we get crash numbers from Madison. We take a look at them. These kind of filter up to the top of crash locations, having more observed crashes than what we would expect at similar locations. It's based on traffic control, based on number of lanes, based on the traffic volume that you experience. That's how we kind of come up with that ranking. The one at Highway 10 westbound ramps and 49, and I know back in the day I worked with you guys on this to get our signal engineer to signalize this. So we put a signal out there. It's constructed as according to standards, signal head per lane, good visibility, but we still continually have a crash issue with people disregarding traffic control and hitting people on the ramp as they're going across to turn left to head towards the Quick Trip, south of the Highway 10 core there. So what my thought was, the first step as we progress from low cost safety improvements to higher ones, we've already spent a lot of money and put a signal out there. What could be done to get better compliance with the signals out there? We can put some reflective tape around those signal heads. City of Wisconsin Rapids just did it to all their signals. Really makes those signal indications jump out. So that would be the first step to try to get better compliance. My initial concern was as people are coming underneath Highway 10 heading into Wapaka, that maybe they're not seeing the signal indications well because of the overpass, but that didn't seem to be the case. It may be the distance to the lights, things like that. So we'll start here. It does have a crash reduction benefit based on national study of 7 to 15% there. So that'll be a change you'll see out there. I've got to work with our folks out in the field to get those adjusted. Next one at Highway 10 in Anderson Road. I'm actually in another meeting right now with our highway safety group for the state, and we're reviewing safety applications all across the state right now. This one is being presented today, this afternoon by myself, to get safety money to basically take a look at closing the median at Highway 10 and Anderson Road. It has came out as a crash spot for the last 2 or 3 data sets. We look at 5-year data sets. So going back to 2017, it keeps popping up with these people trying to turn left and then crashes. So the thought here is to get that closed. It does qualify for 90% federal safety money. We have an improvement project coming up in 2029. We're currently in negotiations with the contractor right now for design. We anticipate public meetings and local official meetings this fall. We'll present this alternative at that time. Looking at leaving that access open for emergency response vehicles to get in there to service the carpet store and the homes over on that side of town. If there would be a fire or a medical event, you could still get there in the same amount of time. The return trip may take longer though. So that is what is proposed there. And that's really all I have in my report, unless there's any questions or other issues you'd like the DOT to investigate.
Tony. All right, thank you, Tony. Moving on, Mr. Muck.
I have nothing.
Moving on, Mr. Rasmussen.
I guess that doesn't go away, does it? All right, second quarter, the Pat County Traffic Safety Commission, April 10th. These are statewide fatal numbers as of Sunday, Monday morning. This year so far, 108 crashes with 115 fatalities. Trending higher than we were same time last year of showing 97 fatalities, and it's still higher than the 5-year average of 102. So that's trending in the wrong direction. Packet County year-to-date crashes, 259, the one fatality we talked about, and 57 injuries. That's not the quarter, that was as of this morning. So a little higher than Kyle's numbers. The one fatality in the city of Clintonville we talked about. Just location of it, crash report. And then like I said, the 5-year history showed 9 total crashes, add 2 more when you do non-intersections, and that's where the fatal comes into play. Comparing this year, first quarter, to the 3-year average, showing a 24% increase in all crashes, 197 to 245. And the fatals are up, shows 200%, but it went from 0 to 1. Aggressive driving is down 25%. Teen driving crashes down 10%. 65 and older is up 58% from the 3-year average. Speed-related crashes are up 23%. And impaired driving stayed the same from the 3-year average. Same time frame, pedestrians and motorcycle went down to 0 from 1. Commercial motor vehicle crashes went up 18%, nothing with the bicycle. I will say I get the daily fatal numbers throughout the state, and motorcycle fatalities are coming in pretty quickly. Get a little bit of warm weather, but I've probably seen 4 or 5 in the last couple weeks. Other crash flags, intersection is down 12%. Deer crashes are up 121%. You have more crashes, these numbers are going to be up a little higher, obviously, to make up the numbers for the crashes. Any questions before I get on to the next topic? Tony, if you have any input when I go over the work zone crash information, feel free to jump in. So the engineers, the state DOT puts out information they'd like us to share at the Highway Safety Committee meetings throughout the state. And this one is work zone crashes and the importance of filling out the crash report for law enforcement to note where it was in the work zone. Because once you hit work zone, it opens up, I don't know, Andy, how many more boxes, quite a few more boxes to enter into the crash zone, about the crash zone. But the benefit of it is the engineers, DOT, take that information weekly. If it's a fatal, they'll drive to the location and they'll make the work zone safer. Do they need more signs? Do they need a longer lead up to it? They take those information, so they look at all that. It needs the correct information in the accident reports, however. It helps develop the crash modifications in that area. Already went over, they review it weekly. They can apply for grants to help in the work zones. The components of a work zone. So these are all things that would be noted on the crash report. The big one that's highlighted is before the work zone. So that is prior to the first sign saying the work zone up ahead. But is there a bottleneck leading to the work zone? Like on Highway 10 or 45 when you have multiple lanes, you're knocking it down to 1 lane. You might get the bottleneck before the work zone. That's important to note because that is part of the work zone. And it just goes into the components of a work zone. Anybody have a questions on at least the components of the work zone and the importance of filling out the crash report or having the officers fill it out correctly? Tony, anything to add?
I do not have anything.
All right. You can get all your crash information on community maps. I've shared this before, but they have open or virtual office hours the second Monday of every month. There's a link or a QR code you can use to log in, and the people running it are the people that actually run community maps or the developers of it at, I believe they're at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And this is a good place where people pop on and request certain things. I'd like community maps to show something else. This is a good, you talk to developers, so it's a good possibility here. Also in community maps, when you look for crashes, the tabs up at top, you usually go into the search or the advanced tab, but there are other tabs you can use. And the one I'm highlighting here is training and help. I think I brought this up to the sheriff's office later, but there's a new video, failure to stop versus failure to yield. Again, I'm going back to the engineers. It's important for the officers to write the correct, whether it's failure to yield or failure to stop. If the citation's issue, you're gonna need to know the difference. However, we look at that for redesigning an intersection. If the one in Clintonville, for example, let's say you had 40 crashes there in a year or something, there might be a problem with the intersections. But if everybody put down failure to stop, well, the DOT or whoever, the city may come out there and just put up another stop sign, some reflective, couple maybe flags on the stop sign. But if it's failure to yield crashes, the whole intersection could be redesigned or vice versa. So it's important to note the distinction on a crash report. So if everybody can have their officers watch this video, it's a 7.5-minute video. I'm sure you can put down training time and there's other important videos or bots is trying to put out as many as possible. But that's an important one for the engineers on how they either redesign an intersection or don't. So 2 weeks ago, I was in Dunn County for their highway safety meeting. They asked if Bureau of Transportation Safety was going to do any press release reference the emergency contact law that was passed last year. Essentially, it's saying that the state has to put an emergency contact on everybody's record if they so choose. So if you go get a driver's license or renew your driver's license, they have to ask that person, the state does, DOT, do you want to include an emergency contact person? You include up to one person. So for law enforcement, if you deal with a bad crash or anything you deal with somebody, you're trying to get a contact for that person, you can run the person, check their record, and it will come up on the record. Dunn County Lieutenant, I think, asked me, they had an issue with over the last year, like 5 incidents where that would have helped, and only one person had emergency contact. Also, at the bottom of the screen, this is just taken off of Department of Transportation website. Anybody can add it at any time. You don't just need to renew your license. You can hit the Start Now button and add one person contact to your driver's license.
But it's not mandated.
It is not mandatory. It specifically states in the statute, yeah, they can't make you do it. But for law enforcement, I know maybe medical, they would like that. So I told Dunn County, I go, if you want to start it on your website, and I'll pass it around. So Dunn County asked me to pass it around. That's what I'm doing. I think it's a good thing, especially for law enforcement trying to find somebody for these people that even the hospitals would help the hospitals out tremendously. So I said, I will start second quarter. DRE, drug recognition expert training, the spring class registration has passed. However, there's still a fall class. In October, register prior to July. It is fully funded by bots, except for backloading the shift if you need to. Contact is below. Any questions before we get into the fun legislation changes? No. All right, proposed legislation that has been introduced into the Assembly and or the Senate. Black and white registration plates, so black plates with white letters. I believe there's an added fee for these that go to the transportation fund. Battery to community service officer, that bumps up to a class H felony. Detention assistance requirement under this bill, no official, employee, law enforcement can help federal immigration services with somebody that's not here legally unless you have charges essentially. Now, 2 pages from here, I'll say essentially a competing bill that says the sheriff must provide support to federal immigration services. So this one and that one, don't expect either to pass. One won't get through the legislator, and the other one won't be signed by the governor. That's my 2 cents on those two. School bus lamps, if this passes, it will allow school buses to put reverse lights, either white or amber, shining back at the rear wheels to help the driver with the safety when they're backing up. Impersonating police officer, firefighter, emergency medical person, jumps that up from an A misdemeanor to a Class I felony. Also increases the penalty for unlicensed person using a vehicle. So when somebody allows somebody to use a vehicle, knowing that they're unlicensed, first fine is up to $1,000. Second offense is $10,000. So they're really upping that quite a bit.
For the person who gave them the vehicle.
Knowingly,
Gave them.
right.
Okay.
Police vehicle lights, essentially now the law says you must have the red on one side, the blue lights on the other. That's what everybody does in this county. Then, but on the side of the vehicle, so if that's a side with the red lights, you pretty much put red lights, correct? And on the blue side, you put blue. Big agency in the southeast part of the state puts both colors on the sides. So essentially this bill would allow law enforcement to do that. So essentially 1 or 2 agencies do it now. This bill would allow it. Rehired annuitants. So law enforcement or firefighters, if you retire, go into another job that participates in Wisconsin retirement system, allows you to elect not to be a participating employee in the new job. So you can still collect your pension. And I would assume that takes away the 1,400 hours max you could work and everything. This is proposed legislation in the public hearing process. License plate concealment devices is in the public hearing process. I know you couldn't have anything to prohibit the visual of your license plate. However, this would also make it illegal to sell. So the bottom one there, rehired annuitants, it's an add-on to what I just said, but it includes all protective occupation and county jailers that are allowed to return to work and choose not to participate in the WRS system in the new job. Proposed legislation is passed out of committee. Vehicle impoundment, local law enforcement can seize a vehicle immediately for up to 90 days for the below offenses: operating without a license, speeding at 25 plus, fleeing an officer, or racing on a highway. Now we're getting closer to these, our bills are passed in one or both chambers. Like I said, county sheriff immigration functions, sheriff must comply with federal immigration services. I don't think this is going to be signed by the governor, but it'll probably be passed by both houses. Canine Rigs Act jumps up the penalty for killing a canine unit up to a Class G felony. Reckless driving, vehicle impoundment. Essentially, this allows local law enforcement to collect fees prior to releasing the vehicle. It kind of goes with that other one I mentioned. Unless if it's a stolen vehicle, then you cannot hold the vehicle for your bill. EMS education. They're looking to grant money to help with education, certification, initial licensure for EMS. Subpoenas for law enforcement. If this passes and signed by the governor, law enforcement officer can only be served at their place of employment. And fatal review teams. So highway safety committees, like we just did a little while ago, review all fatals. This would also put fatal crashes through health services, Department of Health Services, like they do now with child deaths. So they would include vehicular crashes. Now this one might be changed a little bit to include the highway safety committee meetings. There's some talk about that, but That's fairly new. Wrapping up, Governor's Conference, I said this last meeting, August 19th to 20th. The business meeting is on the Monday, the 18th, so each commission, you can send 2 people, up to 2 people out for the meeting on Monday. That is at the Kalahari and the Dells. And we just have some topics or breakout sessions. Wisconsin OWI law, strengths and weaknesses, first responder wellness, teen drivers. At the bottom, it says work zone bridge collapse. Bridge collapse has been taken out as of this point, just so everybody knows, you're not going for that reason. Contact information, as of right now, Dave Gress for the RPM or the grant person is doing the whole state, as McAllister Crow was the northern half, but he took a different job somewhere. So as of right now, Dave Gress is handling any questions with the grants for the whole state. They are hiring somebody for the northern. When that's gonna happen, I don't know. That's all I got. Any questions?
Thank you, Todd. All right, moving on. Mr. Morak?
Yes, thank you. The big news, of course, for us is the courthouse remodel. So if you're going to try to find somebody, good luck with that. So for example, Health and Human Services will be coming over to the Buyers Sky building at the end of this month, next to the Paco Foundry there. UW Extension has moved to New London, to an office kind of next to the City Hall. The Veterans VA service has moved over by Casey there in the county garage and so forth. As Zach pointed out this morning, the telephone numbers, so hopefully are the same. So if you look up the telephone number for the person, hopefully that has not changed, even though that they've moved over to the Fire Sky building. So just be aware of that. I guess that's the main thing from the county. Thank you, sir.
Any questions for Dave? All right, moving on, Sheriff Wills. Questions for Sheriff Wills? Moving on, Emergency Management Director Zach.
Outside of the statewide emergency, or the statewide tornado drill today at 1:45 and 6:45, just as a reminder, I don't have anything else.
Any questions for Zach? All right, moving on. Are you filling in for Kevin?
Yes, got nothing from the law enforcement committee.
Okay. We'll continue moving on down to Sergeant Curtis.
Just a little update on traffic grants. So I sent an email out, chiefs, most of you know, our seatbelt and speed budgets were cut by 50%. Our seatbelt budget is basically expended to date at this point. Speed grant, we have $7,000. So that'll essentially give us a month of deployments. With the cuts and our heavy event month being July, we're gonna take July off from grants. Additionally, I will be on leave throughout the summer. So chiefs, in the past, I've asked you to submit reimbursement reports for your agencies. WIGA, you guys have been great at doing that. Lindsay will be the person to submit those reports to. I'll send an email when I'm officially on leave with her information and stuff. So, any questions on that? Okay, that's all I have.
And bots cut the grants by 50%.
Yes.
Because they don't know what the federal grants are gonna look like based on what's going on in DC. So they're trying to get the money, what they have, through the whole year in case it's cut.
Just curious about grants in general. How do you guys apply for them? I mean, does every department do its own thing?
Easiest answer.
Coordinated effort.
Easiest answer is that they're all different. So the traffic safety grants are basically applied through us, through the state, through a grant service. The gentleman that Todd had mentioned earlier had left again. We get selected via our crash records, everything that happens in Wapaka County. And then currently Wapaka County hosts the task force, which then any agency has the ability to participate in that traffic safety grant. So
I'm just curious because, for example, I'm on the East Central board, they just recently hired a grant writer. And I was just curious if, they could be any service to you guys.
We have recently sent several people in this room to the grant writing school as well. So hopefully they can assist
Yeah.
us with getting some more here.
We're in the process of establishing kind of a grant writing committee to basically handle that kind of stuff, so.
Any other questions for Autumn? All right, moving on, Lieutenant Thorpe.
I have nothing to report.
Great. Captain Wilson.
Morning, everyone. The only thing I just want to remind is the construction on Oshkosh Street for emergency vehicles. It's a thoroughfare, north-south thoroughfare, and most of the road will be closed all summer long. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Josh?
Josh, when they gonna hire the new chief?
They're in the third round of interviews taking place Monday and Tuesday. After that, I don't know what's left for the process.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet.
All right, moving on, Chief Freitag.
I have nothing.
Chief Leshke.
I have nothing other than a thank you to DOT for getting 110 fixed. That'll make our area much safer and the residents much happier.
Good job, Tony.
How many years before I can send that thank you to somebody?
For the other half of 110?
Well, yes.
All right. And Chief Severson.
I don't have.
All right, anybody else in the room have anything else for discussion today?
I just get one more quick comment. The green lights on the highway trucks or plow trucks, I think are fantastic. You know, when you're trying to follow a snow plow, those green ones now are much, much more visible. The only thing I have a comment, the person I drank coffee with the other morning said, well, there was two of them. I thought it said green, I could go around him. So I think we gotta be careful, people sometimes think green means go, but but it just struck me funny when he said that. There was two of them on that side, so I thought he meant I should go around them. So, but they are very visible, and I rode with one of the guys plowing. I always try my ride every year, and they do show up, and I think they help the snowplow drivers. That's it.
All right, thank you for that. With that, can I get a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion.
We are adjourned.